The Los Angeles Chargers had everything they needed right in front of them this offseason, but instead they chose this timeline. We got all that and much more on today's episode of Locked On NFL.
You are Locked On NFL, your daily NFL podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, football fans, and welcome into another episode of Locked On NFL, your daily podcast, bringing you all the biggest stories from around the National Football League. Here is a part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Don't forget, you can always subscribe and follow, always for free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcast. We appreciate you very much for making Locked On NFL your first listen of the day every day. It's Tuesday here, so you've got Luke Braun at Luke Braun NFL on Twitter, myself, Ross Jackson at Ross Jackson Nola. We are your NFL experts here as part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We appreciate you very much for being here with us. Our episode today brought to you by our friends at Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the promo code Locked On NFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So every Tuesday here, we do our yike and our like, the things that we like, the things that we don't like from the week of NFL action. I hear somebody might be a little bit grumpy today, though. We might have more yikes than likes. We're also going to pour one out for a couple of teams this week. Yeah, it's week 6, but some teams are already dead in the water. Anthony Richardson, yep, we know what it is. Anthony Richardson already could potentially be out after the beginning of his promising rookie year. But to kick it all off, Luke, as you mentioned, Brandon Staley, man, like it's not working in Los Angeles. And I'm just going to come right out and say it. The Los Angeles Chargers could have had Sean Payton to pair with Justin Herbert. And I know that Sean Payton's struggling. I know he's struggling with Russell Wilson over in Denver. I know. I get it. But I'm just saying, you pair him up with Justin Herbert, we might be talking about something a little different, something a little different over in Los Angeles. That's all I'm saying.
Well, all right. Okay. Well, all right, then.
Look, cooking a little bit more.
You can have that. Here's the deal. I think a lot of the Brandon Staley firing conversation is about like he went for this 4th down and I don't think he should have, or vice versa.
It's so much more than that, man. Like, or
I don't care.
It should be. Yeah.
At all. Like, head coaches are not 4th down go machines.
Right.
Like, they're not a 4th down go bot or not. There's a lot more to head coaching. That is something that, they are in charge of on game day. I think a lot of them now do have specialists. At least I know the Vikings do. A lot of them do have specialists that like handle that for them and give them at least recommendations. And then do you have a play call? It's this whole complicated decision tree. But even if you do think he's wrong about that a lot, I think that's a critique, but it's not a fireable one. It's just too small of a piece of the pie in terms of what the responsibility is. But here is what I do think is fireable with Brandon Staley. For one, you're a defensive coach and your defense has sucked. A better game against the Cowboys. Probably not a lot of Chargers fans think that losing to the Cowboys here was their fault, but they've had some really, really, really rough goes on defense. That's supposed to be your deal, guy. That's your the point of view. So maybe not. But the other thing is, this is a deeply disorganized team. How many flags did we see on this?
We saw 20 total, and I believe 11 of them were on the Chargers in this game.
Jesus.
Yeah.
20? Oh my God.
20 total.
What a horrible game.
9 by the other. Yeah, it was rough.
Have a little discipline. I don't know. I mean, it feels like the Chargers are always making life really hard on themselves with those sorts of unforced errors. And maybe saying, hey, going for it on a 4th and 1, you shouldn't have gone for it, you could call that, like, put that in the category of those unforced errors and kind of package it up with everything. But there's a lot of just didn't go out of bounds when you were supposed to. Weird clock management moments, weird operational things. And to me, for a team that since 2001 has lived in trailing by a score with 2 minutes to go. That's just every Chargers game is exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
Always. For a team with that much experience doing it now, you would think that they would be a little bit better at holding their water in those moments. To borrow a phrase from Vikings head coach Kevin O'Connell, and this is not a Kevin O'Connell thing, this is a McVay thing, situational masters. Be acutely aware of the situation you're in. All right, 3rd down, 1 minute to go. How many timeouts do we have? Is out of bounds in play? Is out of bounds not in play? Do I need to get up and spike it if we're doing that? Be
Do I need to take
aware
4
of
straight shots to the end zone at the end of the game? I'm just asking questions.
Yeah, like not having your players prepared to exist in those moments, that's the fireable thing to me. Yeah. That tells me that you are employing disorganized leadership. And I think that's the thing that the Chargers need to look to change. Plus, that Fangio system sucks, man. It sucked last year. A couple of teams moved off of it, and the teams that didn't are getting super punished for it. It sucks. I'm sorry. It's bad. It's had one moment in 2018 against a shout out to Jordan Rodriguez in the Play Callers series. One moment on Sunday Night Football in 2018. Congratulations to Matt Nagy and the Bears and Vic Fangio. Everybody copied it. Everybody who copied it got punished. It's over. This quarter half crap is way too easy to beat. And something else needs to be the new wave of defense. And sorry, Brandon Staley, adapt or die.
Yeah, and the only way that the Fangio system is working right now is with Vic Fangio, and it helps when you've got a team that can score 50 points. Not
like Belichick, right?
The other side,
the Patriot way. How many head coaches have been? How many Joe Judges and Matt Patricias are there that were like, we do the Patriot way, but only really one guy understood it to its core and could make it happen.
Really do it, absolutely, 100%. Sorry, I want to correct something I said earlier. It was indeed 20 total penalties in this game. It was 11 by the Cowboys, 9 by the Los Angeles Chargers. So I had it flipped.
So more by the Cowboys then. Yeah. Well, that's not as bad, but it's 9 penalties in the game. It's still very bad.
Yeah, for
and you're not yards because the other team did worse.
Right. And you had more penalty yardage in this game than you had rushing yardage in this game. You had 79 penalty yards and 53 rushing yards in this matchup if you're the Los Angeles Chargers. In a day where you got Austin Eckler back and who looked great with the ball in his hands, making plays and doing everything that he does. So, yeah, I can't, if you can't manage the situational stuff, then what are you doing? You know what I mean? Like that's kind of where you want to see the head coach come in and have the specialty, have the team ready. Like you spend all your time doing that. Like you install 1st, 2nd, 3rd down, you put it all together on Thursdays or whichever day everybody does it. But then you usually end your practices with red zone, 3rd down, like doing all these situational things to be ready for the moments that will win you a game. I talk about it on my show all the time. The NFL game is about moments. Who owns the most moments in a game will win that game is usually what it is. And you can always trace a game down to its moments. And when you're a team to where you have, a cutaway to a fan bring more moments than what your team is bringing, then there's something wrong with your team.
Khalil Mack. He's doing his job.
Khalil Mack. But otherwise you're looking at the moments from that game and they all are owned by the Dallas Cowboys offense and Tony Pollard making some incredible plays, or it's Justin Herbert throwing an interception to Stephon Gilmore to ice the game and seal it up. Like if those are the moments, your team's going to lose. And that's just the way that the NFL works. Sometimes fortunately, sometimes unfortunately. And right now, very, very much unfortunately for Brandon Staley. Will the Los Angeles Chargers be a team on our pour one out list? Find out. We'll look at that next. We're also going to be taking a look at Anthony Richardson and the litany of Week 6 injuries and how they could potentially impact the NFL weekend that is upcoming. We got that coming up for you as we continue on with today's episode of Locked On NFL, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's show is sponsored by BetterHelp, therapy made easy. I have personally been in therapy for a few years now, and for me, getting started was kind of a barrier. If you've ever tried to find a therapist and not liked that person, it might turn you off to the whole idea. But I want to encourage you not to do that. Give BetterHelp a try because they'll help you cycle through a whole bunch of licensed therapists to try to get somebody that matches with you and can give you what you need. Definitely don't quit on the first one. The experience is super, super, super different depending on who you get. That is my advice to you. So make your brain your friend with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/lockedon today to get 10% off of your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/lockedon. Today's episode is also brought to you by DoorDash, which is a great way to find some of the lesser known local places around you. That's what DoorDash has been able to do for me, at least, in addition to the wonderful convenience when you're too lazy to cook and you're too lazy to go out and you need something delivered to your door, or maybe even just pick up a quick grocery because you are making something, but you forgot an ingredient at the grocery store and now you need something to get delivered right away and you can't leave the stove. That has also been unbelievably clutch, at least for me. Don't forget to use code LOCKED23 for 50% off up to a $10 value on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and spend $15 or more. Subject to change, terms apply.
All right, everybody, continuing on with today's episode of Locked On NFL. Make sure you tune in for Friday for Locked On NFL Kickoff. You can find that here on the Locked On NFL YouTube page or any of our NFL shows. So Locked On Steelers, Locked On NFL Scouting, Locked On Vikings, Locked On Saints. You can find it at 2 p.m. Eastern time, getting you ready for all of the action live ahead of the weekend action across the NFL. And Luke, this weekend has the ability or has the potential to look very, very different when it comes to NFL action across the league because of a litany of injuries, maybe one of the most notable of which, at least today, being around Colts quarterback Anthony Richardson, who looks like he's going to be undergoing surgery. And according to Jim Irsay, the owner of the team of the Colts, could be out for the season as a part of that. And he had such a promising start. Like, this has such a huge impact on a lot of different things. The Colts, the AFC South, the AFC, this year's rookie quarterback class. I mean, this is a pretty big hit for the Indianapolis Colts.
I think if I'm a Colts fan, the only concern that I have, I mean, yeah, you kind of got some dreams of like maybe being a team this year that like makes the playoffs. I remember Andrew Luck's rookie year, right? And I got to think Colts fans are thinking that same way.
Yep.
So if I'm a Colts fan, you're probably bummed to probably lose. I'm not quite ready to pour one out on them yet, just because I love
agree.
Gardner Minshew. Close though.
Yeah, it's there. It's there.
We can put it off. But 2023 was never going to be the season where the Colts were contenders, right? They're in the middle of trying to build things back up from an absolutely catastrophic 2022 and the Jeff Saturday thing and all that stuff. That was awful.
Oh,
now you got your quarterback.
I forgot about the Jeff Saturday stuff.
Right? The thing about it is, all I care about is if this stunts Anthony Richardson's development, because it was promising. Still work to do. We all knew there was going to be work to do, and there is still work to do. You just got to hope that it doesn't ruin the momentum there, and that he doesn't come out in year 2 and regress or something like that because he's got to spend so much time rehabbing an injury. When you're rehabbing an injury, you're not practicing. You're not getting more accurate. You're not getting faster. You're not getting stronger. You're rehabbing an injury. Or at least you're not getting stronger all around. You're trying to regain strength you had before. That sucks, but it might be okay. I mean, look, he's super, super young. And I'm not like fearing that he will lose his athleticism, but sometimes that can throw your development curve off. Now you got to pick things back up kind of from square one again. That would be my only fear. And personally, I'm not too worried about it. I think Anthony Richardson will be entirely fine. So I wouldn't be stressing too bad. It just means that 2023 is a year that, you'll probably have to wade through some frustrating losses, Colts fans. But I think most of you deep in your heart of hearts knew that already.
Yeah. I don't have much to add. I just want to say that I agree. I think that just becomes the big thing is, like you and I have done this show before to where we had the conversation around does a rookie quarterback starting right away versus having, some time to sit and wait, sit and learn or whatever, what's the correlate? Is there any correlation between that approach and that quarterback success? And we can't really find any real correlation between how that goes. So as long as he does it, he is able to continue to grow. And the thing is that it's shoulder surgery. So that stinks because the throwing capabilities and everything that come with that. But in terms of his athleticism, this isn't an Achilles injury. This isn't an ACL injury. This isn't one of those things that can severely stunt that athleticism and change that athleticism. So as long as he's able to keep, staying in shape, doing what he needs to do, comes back next year, assuming that he does miss the rest of the season, and should be able to pick up right where he left off, because he was having a very, very promising young rookie season. I will be curious to see if the Colts are a little bit more careful with him this, next time that he's back out on the field, as opposed to having him, run around and do all the things more, less controlled. But it's not the only one. It's not the only injury that we're looking at this week. We also see, amongst other quarterbacks, Trevor Lawrence, same division, with a knee injury, being listed as day to day. He plays Thursday night, so just in a couple of days, against the New Orleans Saints here in New Orleans. Will he be available? Won't he be available? We'll be watching that. Justin Fields dealing with a thumb injury. We already watched Daniel Jones miss a game last week. Tyrod Taylor coming in relief. Daniel Jones dealing with that neck injury. Justin Herbert played on Monday night, last night, with a finger injury. You got Jimmy Garoppolo with a back injury. I mean, it is just a ton of injuries going on just from this week, and that's just the quarterbacks. I mean, it's a lot.
Forget Justin Jefferson on IR. Christian McCaffrey's got some oblique thing going on. Like a lot of the supers. Your fantasy teams are being tested
big time.
Deebo Samuel.
Big time. Yeah. So this is the time to really show everybody what you can do on the waiver wire.
Exactly.
Make sure you're listening to Vinny and Michelle over at Locked On Fantasy Football. Get all
skill
that
game
that you need.
Everybody gets injured, right?
That's it.
And that's both fantasy and the NFL, right? Everybody gets injured, and it's all about how your depth responds, right? Do you have somebody like Tyrod Taylor that can keep you in a game, or Gardner Minshew that can keep you in a game, or in the case of the Bears, is it an undrafted rookie that you barely trust? What kind of trouble are you in if your starter goes down? That sometimes you can get away with that because your starter never goes down, but if you get unlucky, do you get punished? That's part of the game.
It's a part of it for sure, but man, it stinks. It stinks
as a fan. Like you just want to turn injuries off, right? Of course.
Yeah, so I was just about to say, there are times where I wish we could go back to like the Madden days, just turn injuries off and play the game. On Monday Night Football last night, I would have also turned penalties off because I got tired of seeing the third team on the field, the Zebras, and that was driving me nuts throughout that entire game. But yeah, no, it's tough to. And this is usually the point in the season where this kind of stuff happens, right? To where you start to see, the kind of wear and tear of the NFL season. Basically, after week one, no one's playing healthy, and eventually everyone's playing injured. It's just that at some point you really start to see these kind of pile up. So hopefully this kind of like wave of injuries, and you saw the impact of it. There are only 5 teams this week that scored 21 or more, or more than 21 points all season or all week over on the offensive side of the football. And so like you can see the immediate impact of all of it as well. So I don't know, it's rough. Speaking of rough though, we were discussing earlier about Chargers fans and how rough it is sometimes watching this team, just knowing that it's always going to come down to the final moments. I think it's time that we let Chargers fans live in peace, which was not a practice during Monday Night Football's broadcast. We're going to get to our yike and our like, as well as pouring some out here as we wrap up today's episode of Locked On NFL, part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Today's episode of Locked On NFL is brought to you by Gametime, which is the best place to find last-minute tickets for anything, be they NFL games, other sports, concerts, theater, whatever. Gametime is great because they've got all kinds of last-minute deals, flash sales, that kind of thing, which can help you if you're like me and you like to procrastinate, or at least just be a little spontaneous. If you decide right now that you want to go to an NFL game this year, guess what? Getting tickets to that game could be a gosh darn nightmare. And that shouldn't be the way that it is. If you're like, what if we went to a game in December and it's still insane to try to find tickets, or you have to try to find something on like some sketchy website where you have to go to some guy's uncle named Sal and give him the right coin? Like, get out of that. Go to Gametime and you can find all kinds of great deals. They'll give you an image where you can see the view so you can make sure that you're happy with it. You're not stuck behind a light pole or anything. And they have the Gametime guarantee where you can get 110% of your. They'll credit 100%, 110% of the difference if you find the same section in the same row for less somewhere else. So go download the Gametime app today and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Once again, that is the Gametime app, code LOCKEDONNFL.
All right, everybody, wrapping up today's episode of Locked On NFL with our Yike and Like of the Week. Luke, I'm going to ask you to kick us off on this one because I know you're a little bit of a negative Nelly today. So we're going to hear a couple of yikes from you.
Woke up on the wrong side of the bed. I got 2 yikes, no likes.
Let's get it.
My first yike goes to the ESPN broadcast of Cowboys Chargers. Leave that girl alone.
Leave her alone.
You probably saw a whole bunch of videos and pictures and gifs and stuff of this super, super into it Chargers fan. Very endearing. You'd love to see that there is one, that there is a Chargers fan, in fact. And so, yeah, the broadcast made a huge deal out of finally finding one at a home game. But, you saw her get super, super excited and everybody loves it. And, just that unbridled joy when they make a field goal or whatever. And then at the end, heartbreaking interception. You don't have to cut back to her. No. It's just heart ripped in half. You didn't have to do that. No. You just let her be. Let her suffer in peace. We've all been there, right? Heartbreaking loss. The last thing you want is a camera in your face and to have that moment be immortalized. Come on. Let her live. She's a Chargers fan. She has been through enough.
And she was so passionate about them Chargers too. So she's been through it. She has been.
She's been a Chargers fan her whole life. You don't get that. You don't get that from picking them up just because they moved to LA a few years ago. No.
100%.
That's got to be a San Diego.
If you are that Chargers fan, if you are watching or listening to this show, hit up Luke or myself. Twitter handles, social media handles are right here. We will bring you on the show. You can tell us everything that you have been through.
Absolutely. Oh my God, I would love that.
100%.
Regale us with your tales.
Yes, 100%. Because you deserve to be seen in the light that you want to be seen in, not memorialized in that way. We will bring you on this show and give you an opportunity to re-meme yourself. 100%.
Exactly.
100%. Oh man, that's a good one. I'm gonna stick with the negative here, and I'm gonna go with my yike. My yike circles back to what I was mentioning earlier about NFL offenses. And I know I complained about this a couple of weeks ago because we saw I think there were 5 or 6 teams in the NFL that did not score an offensive touchdown just 2 weeks ago. Then all of a sudden last week, we saw kind of this offensive explosion that happened in relative to the week before. 11 teams scoring more than 21 points. This week, we watched that number plummet. Only 5 teams scoring more than 21 points. So offense around the NFL and offensive line play, with the exception of 3 or 4 different teams. Tip my hat to your Minnesota Vikings there, Luke, because they've got a good offensive line going. But the offenses around NFL, yes, for now, the offenses around the NFL have been so tough to watch this season. It has been poor football, bad football for a lot of this year. And I don't know if maybe we've talked about the too high safety impact and the way and the impact that's had, even against a bad sort of Vic Fangio Jr. version defense. We didn't really see the Dallas Cowboys do a ton against Los Angeles Chargers. Offense just has not been fun to watch at all so far this season. Now I'm a defensive guy, so I personally love it, but I just understand from the larger scope of what makes football fun, we're not really seeing the success of offenses around the NFL so far this year. And to me, that's poopy. I hate that.
It is. There is some hope with the biracial king.
Mike McDaniel, man. He's got offense for everybody right now.
He does. Hanging 70 on guys.
Oh my goodness. He has been so fun. That has been so fun to watch.
Got in a hole 14-0 and just casually dropped 42-7 after. Come on, man.
I ain't worried about it. I got Tua. I got, and this was without that rookie running back Devin Achane as well. That has been incredible so far this season and all that. But you still got Tyreek Hill, you still got Jalen. You still have all of these weapons and all these pieces. And in the actual Vic Fangio defense, man, it's just working in Miami. I love it. They were my dark horse to make the Super Bowl this year, and I don't even want to call them a dark horse anymore. They're just simply a horse.
No, they're just an AFC contender.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially considering the weird stuff the Bills are having. They could be playing at home in the playoffs. For my other yike, It's New England. Speaking of the AFC East, guys, guys, dude.
Hello.
You've got they have right
Signs
now
of life.
starting
Are you
at
well?
hello. Are you awake? They have at right tackle right now, or I think they've started him at both tackle spots, a guy named Vidarian Lowe, who the Vikings drafted. So I got to know him pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
Deeply not ready. Second year guy, very much a developmental player, not close to ready to be doing this at all. And he's getting absolutely, I mean, he's going like up against Max Crosby. Like, dude, you're just this is like throwing me into a WWE ring. Like, what did you think was going to happen? But I think the biggest yike for me about the Patriots is Mac Jones. Oh my God.
Dude.
It's been a while since I have seen somebody regress so bad. Like him versus his rookie year self is just really a worse quarterback who's making worse decisions, who seems to completely have lost the rhythm to the game. I think it genuinely, he needs to be benched, not necessarily because Bailey Zappi is better, although at this point, maybe, I don't know. But just because he needs to he just needs to recalibrate. He just needs to regroup. And maybe that, I mean, guys don't really come back from that, but maybe I expand my yike entirely to the 2021 draft class. You have Trey Lance. He's already been dumped for a fourth. You have Justin Fields, not going well there. Now he's hurt again. Mac Jones, catastrophe and a half. Somehow Zach Wilson is the second best guy in that class, which if you told me that a year and a half ago, I'd be like, come on, let go of your draft thing. But it actually kind of is happening. Right. And Trevor Lawrence is hurt. So I want to pour one out. It's time to pour one out. RIP New England Patriots. I don't think we had done that before. If we haven't, I think we also have done the Broncos. If not, we got to do that too.
Let's do it again. Honestly.
Yeah.
Let's pour one out for them.
Pour one out for those two. And I got a third team.
Yeah.
The real one I know we haven't done, but we should, is the Arizona Cardinals.
100%.
They got rolled up, tossed aside by the Los Angeles Rams. And it was fun when they beat the Cowboys. Nice gritty win. You guys kind of are who you thought who we thought you were. Bye. It's over. And it would never started. You guys are just like loading up for the 2024 draft. We get it. Go have fun. Please don't be on my TV anymore.
Yeah. A lot of positive signs though. A lot of positive signs for that Arizona Cardinals team, just in terms of the trajectory of where they're headed now versus the Cliff Kingsbury, Steve Keim days and all those other things. Like really, really good stuff in terms of what they want to build towards being. But for right now, you got to pour one out for them for sure. All right, I'm going to end us on a little positivity here, Luke. I'm going to go with my like for the week to wrap us up. And it's very simple. It's just that in whatever shape, form, or fashion, it doesn't matter. Football is now an Olympic sport, and that's kind of dope. Do I think? Oh, yeah. Do I think that it's a little bit like, hey, the Olympics are in America and now we need an America thing to add to it? 100% I do. But at the same time, I love it. Because the flag football was basically, for those that don't know, flag football has now been brought in and will debut in Los Angeles in the next Olympics run, the next Summer Olympics run, as an Olympic sport, and that's dope. It'll be women, men, all peoples will be a part of it, everything, and I think that that's really, really cool. We have seen an expansion of flag football as one of like the fastest growing sports out there. Across the world, not just here. We're seeing it in different continents. We're seeing it all over the place, internationally, everything, and it's awesome. And it's really, really cool. We had a flag football story on here not too long ago when we talked about this first female football player being a part of the Hall of Fame or being a part of everything.
Oh, right, yeah.
So now it's just kind of like the next step in terms of like where the sport is headed. So really, really cool. And we'll see where that goes in terms of the Olympic Games. I'm looking forward to seeing it.
I think it's for all of the effort that the NFL puts into like trying to expose football to more international audiences. That's a great way to do it, even as flag football.
Luke, this was a ton of fun. Always love when we can pour one out. I have the feeling we'll be pouring some out again next week on Tuesday.
Looking at you, Colts.
Yep, we're watching, Indy. And then, of course, we will continue to bring you all the biggest stories from around the National Football League every single Monday through Friday. Tomorrow, you've got James and Chris. They're going through some of the biggest questions. And then, of course, Luke and I will be back next week. Or actually, I will be back next week. And then because Luke has the Monday night game, the Vikings are actually playing on Monday night. So we're going to be swapping a little bit of the rotation here. So we will be back with you next week, though. We appreciate you very much, as always, for being here for another episode of Locked On NFL. For Luke Braun, I am Ross Jackson. We thank you very much for making Locked On NFL your first listen of the day every day. Here is a part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.